Hello, YouTube. It's me, John Avenger, once again. I'm glad I came back, and it is finally time for me to review the Star Wars films. I'm going to start with the Phantom Menace, and then work my way all the way up to the original trilogy, and then, of course, the Clone Wars movie from 2008, and then I'll stop there until, Episode 7 comes out, and I'll give you my thoughts on that when that's finally released. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. It was a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. I was a 14-year-old boy in the theater in 1999, and this movie came out and pretty much blew the box office wide open. Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Yes, I know. I saw this when I was really young. I saw it like last year on Blu-ray for like the first or second time, and I still enjoy this film. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me, but that's okay. I never understood why this film got the hate it did after a 16-year wait to see a new Star Wars movie, and we get this. I don't think it's the worst movie of all time. I've seen sci-fi movies that have bored me more, but I'll get to that later on. But I saw this one in the theater when I was 14. Loved it when I came out of the theater. I was just like blown away. I saw it back in 2012 when they re-released it in 3D, and I still had a good time. I don't hate this movie, and I never will. So basically, if you haven't seen the Phantom Menace, there's gonna be spoilers in this review. Just to let you know, because there's some people that probably refuse to see the prequels because they've heard terrible things about it. But basically, it starts in the beginning before Luke was born, and Han and Leia and everything, and two Jedi's, one played by Qui-Gon Jinn, played by Liam Neeson, and a young Obi-Wan Kenobi, played by Ewan McGregor, who I think are really good in the film. They really carry the film a lot. They have to negotiate with with the Trade Federation, to stop the tax evasion or whatever, the trade routes that they do in Naboo. The Trade Federation, retaliates when the two Jedi show up. They try to gas them, like, it's crazy. You have a bunch of these battle droids that try to shoot them. Of course, Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon just, use the Force and just cut them to freaking smithereens with their lightsabers, green and blue, respectively. There's a lot of references to the original films in this trilogy, but it didn't bother me. I'll get to the things that I didn't like about the film, but I just want to get a short synopsis. Then later, after the Jedi escape the the battle droids and the destroyers, and they run really fast like the Flash. Um, they have to go to Naboo and try to find the Supreme Chancellor, and try to talk to him. Uh, they also show Queen Amidala on a screen, played by the gorgeous Natalie Portman. This is the very first film I saw her in, a major film, and I loved her in it. I know a lot of people have a problem with her, but she did go on to win an Oscar for Black Swan, which she deserved. I saw that movie this year, and it blew me away. Anyway, the Queen talks to the Viceroy, the Neimoidians, that talk to her about, saying, oh, you failed to get your people, to sign, the Senate to sign you over to the Trade Federation, but she refuses because she didn't want to get into a war with the Trade Federation and have a galactic battle. Um, Amidala talks to the officials on Naboo, and there's a lot of talking in the film. I would give it that. Some people would get bored with this, saying, "Oh, it doesn't feel like a Star Wars movie," but I'll get to that. Then later on, I skip over to when Qui-Gon is in the forest, and then he meets Jar Jar, who to this very day, I don't know why this character gets so much flack. I've I've never hated Jar Jar Binks. I saw him when I was 14. He didn't annoy me then. Even as an adult, he doesn't annoy me now. I'm probably one of like two people that think that way. Um, I have his toy right here. Excuse me. I still have his toy right here. I'm gonna keep it with me for the whole review. I never hated this guy. I've had this toy for a couple years, and he's not everybody's cup of tea. They said, oh, he's a freaking racist. He's a racist stereotype of like Jamaicans or something. He's just an alien from the planet Naboo, in the Gungan city. There's nothing more than you need to know about him. He's not a racist character. I've seen worse. Anyway, Then later, Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, talk to Jar Jar and speak to them about, the safest place is Gungan City, where he, lives, and it's hidden from the Trade Federation. So they talk to the Gungans, and they talk about that how Jar Jar was banished from the city because he was clumsy and destroyed a lot of stuff. And they agreed to give him a bongo, which is like a kind of like a manta ray submarine thing, so they could, uh, go to Coruscant and not Coruscant, Naboo, uh, to go under and sneak into the city underwater. Anyway, if my review's a little fuzzy, you gotta bear with me. I haven't seen the film for a while, but I do remember most of it in a nutshell. When they arrive in the city is beautiful. I think the locations in this movie are really good, really solid. Uh, Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon meet up with Queen Amidala, who's in disguise. You don't know that till later in the film. And they try to take her off of the planet to go to Coruscant so that they can negotiate, to get the Trade Federation away from Naboo. There's a lot of fighting ensues. You get to see a lot of the space battles, and there's a blockade in space when they try to escape Naboo, and their ship gets hit, and the shield generator is destroyed. So you get to see R2-D2 for the very first time in the prequels, played by Kenny Baker, who's still awesome as R2. You get to see him fix the top of the shield generator with his little, gadgets that he has from the original trilogy. It was great to see it. I think the score works in the film very well. They didn't just copy the original films. Later on, when they escape the blockade, you have Darth Sidious, played by Ian McDiarmid, the Emperor from the original trilogy. He talks to the Viceroy about what happened, that the Queen Amidala signed the treaty. She didn't, so he sends Darth Maul, who is the most kick-ass villain in the prequels, and to stop the Jedi and when they get to on their way to Coruscant. But their ship is damaged, so they have to land in Tatooine, which is a reference to the first film, Episode 4. And they meet up with Anakin Skywalker, the young kid played by Jake Lloyd. I know a lot of people hated this kid. I know they were giving him death threats back in 1999, which I think was going too far. He's just a kid actor. Leave him alone. You don't like him, that's fine, but you don't have to give death threats to anybody. It's not needed. It's just sick to do that to anybody. There's a lot of people I don't like, but I don't go, oh, I wish they would just die. No, it's not needed. I thought that he was passable. I don't think he was the greatest actor in the world, but I really didn't see this prequel trilogy for Anakin anyway. But anyway, they meet up with Anakin, who is owned by Watto, who's a flying you know bug alien that they try to deal with him so that they could buy parts for the ship that's busted, and he wants a lot of money for the parts. So they try to negotiate with him to see if Anakin could be in the pod race, so that they can win the money. The prize money would go towards the parts that they need. And then you get later you get to the pod race, which is amazing. I loved it in the theater when I saw it, and when I was 14, the visual effects look fantastic. It was pretty long. I don't think it's as boring as people say it is. I've seen much worse car chases in films recently. But the pod race is freaking awesome. You get to see Anakin's mother in Tatooine, and she's really sweet. She has some decent moments with Qui-Gon, and Qui-Gon says he's strong in the Force. Who is his father? Which is something I've always wanted to know. Who is Anakin's father? And she was like, no, there was no father. I carried him by myself. Yeah, I know they tried to do some kind of thing, like, kind of a spiritual thing, but it didn't bother me back then. I just said, I'll go with it, anyway. But after the pod race, when Anakin wins the pod race, and, after going against the Bulba, the Thug, who tries to knock him into the wall all the time and just tries to smash Anakin to pieces, he wins, and then, they take the prize money and they fix the ship and they get off of Tatooine. Obi-Wan meets Anakin for the first time. Right before that, Qui-Gon encounters Darth Maul for the first time. They have a short battle in the sand, one lightsaber to lightsaber, and then Qui-Gon escapes, and Darth Maul shuts his lightsaber off, and he sees them flying to the sunset, and he does come after them later. After that, they head to Coruscant to deal with the negotiations with the Trade Federation. There's also a young Senator Palpatine, played by Ian McDiarmid. He plays two roles in the film. He looks good for his age in the film. Anakin starts to talk to Padme. They start to form a bond, which leads into later their romance in Episode 2 and in Episode 3 when they have Luke and Leia. Which, well, spoilers. You'll know about that later. But anyway, when they get to Coruscant is this grand city. They meet Chancellor Valorum, who played by what's his name, Terrence Stamp. He has a small part, but he does what he can. We get to the Jedi Temple, which is amazing. You get to see Yoda when he was young. You get to see Mace Windu, played by Samuel L. Jackson, and you get to see the other Jedi's. And they talk about if Qui-Gon wants to train Anakin as his Padawan learner, but he can't because Obi-Wan is still his Padawan. Anakin, they sense that he's going to be a threat to, if he gets trained as a Jedi. Yoda warns them, and they don't listen, but where that leads up to. There's a lot of space battles in the film. That's what I wanted. A Star Wars movie is not a Star Wars movie without a bunch of space battles and, of course, lightsaber battles, which we get to in the third act. I'll skip to it later. Once they leave Coruscant, the Jedi say, "Oh, he will not be trained because he's too old. You gotta. He might be a threat, so his fate will decide it later." And later there's a scene in the Senate where Queen Amidala votes for a vote of no confidence against Chancellor Valorum, and they try to elect a new Supreme Chancellor, which leads up to Palpatine getting the role of that in Episode 2. Then the third act I think is really solid, especially the lightsaber battle between Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, and Darth Maul. That is an amazing fight. It's one of the best fights I've seen on screen. And then that fight leads up to the space battle with the Imperial Senate fighting against the freaking blockade, the droid ship that's in the space that controls all the droids, all the battle droids and all the destroyers and everything. They go up there to try to blow it up. Anakin gets sent up there by accident because he goes into a cockpit of one of the ships, and he gets sent there by automatic pilot, and he eventually destroys the ship, which leads to the droids on Naboo shutting down. Once the Gungans fight them at the end of the third act, which I think the music is grand in that. They throw those blue boombas or whatever they're called, those blue balls that shock the droid. There's a lot of good special effects in that scene. Before that, you had Queen Amidala. She reveals that she had a decoy so that she wouldn't be found out by the Trade Federation, and she negotiates with the Gungans because they need their help to fight against the probe droids. I keep saying the probe droids, battle droids. I'm sorry if I'm a little tired, so I'm trying to get through this quick. Anyway, in the last battle between Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon against Darth Maul, they fight. There's these walls that keep going on and off. They're kind of like a barricade so that they won't get burnt. Qui-Gon eventually fights Darth Maul by himself. He gets killed off. Obi-Wan screams no, and then Obi-Wan and Darth Maul have this awesome epic fight that's really fast-paced, really well choreographed, and you can see everything. There's no shaky cam, and he eventually kills Darth Maul. He falls into the pit. His death. He breaks in half and falls into the pit. And then he goes to Qui-Gon, and Qui-Gon tells him, "Please train Anakin so that he could become a Jedi." And Obi-Wan says, "Yes, Master, I'll do it." And then you get to later on when the Neimoidians, the Viceroy gets arrested or what have you, and then Queen Amidala congratulates the Senator Palpatine for becoming the new Supreme Chancellor. Then you have the funeral for Qui-Gon. They burn his body, they cremate him. Obi-Wan goes to Anakin and tells him, "You will be a Jedi, I promise you, you will be a Jedi." And then, but he talks to Yoda earlier and tells him, you know, he's the chosen one, but he's gonna. I fear great danger in this training, that something is gonna go wrong, and it does go wrong. If you see the rest of the films, you know. And then there has a grand celebration in Naboo. There's balloons, and there's this grand music, and then Gungans everywhere, and then just everybody's happy. They show an orb, and they say and peace, and then that's the end of the movie. So basically, that's the synopsis in a nutshell. I might have gone off some tangents because I'm really tired, but that's basically the plot of Episode 1. A lot of people said there's no plot, but I think there's a series of events that lead up to, you know, a really good payoff at the end. So the things I like in the film, I think some of the performances are really good. I like Liam Neeson. He's been a badass ever since that movie, and then he's even more badass in the first Taken and Nonstop and a lot of other stuff. I liked Ewan McGregor in all three films as the young Obi-Wan Kenobi. Alec Guinness was more classic, but I liked Ewan McGregor. He really was trying hard, and he gave a shit about being Obi-Wan. Natalie Portman, beautiful. Love the makeup on her. I think the costumes are grand on her. You know, every scene she changes her outfit, and she has that white face. Didn't bother me whatsoever. She has a beautiful voice. I love looking at her. Just, you know, she just lights up a room when she's on it. Ahmed Best, the voice and the movements for Jar Jar. Everybody can say he's the most annoying thing ever. No, I think Antonio Banderas in Expendables 3 is worse because he's human and he's more annoying. And I wanted to punch him in the face. But Jar Jar, don't mind him as a character. I know he's very hated, but I don't care. I think he was a cute addition to the Star Wars mythos. Also, I forgot to mention the droids. You get to see R2D2 and C-3PO meet, and C-3PO doesn't have, you know, has a bunch of wires and a piece of metal here, and because Anakin didn't finish building him. Their meeting was cool. It was nice fan service. I like to see that. And it was Anthony Daniels' voice, who still kicks ass. He is C-3PO. You're never going to get a better actor to replace him. There were a few things that I got, you know, that I had problems with in the film. I'm not going to say it was perfect. One problem, the midichlorians thing, I don't think was needed. It was like, oh, Anakin wasn't born from, like, you know, a man and a woman. It was like the midichlorians were the ones that created him. I'm like, that's kind of weak because they don't mention midichlorians in the original trilogy, so it's kind of a plot device that doesn't really have a payoff, and it was just not needed for the most part. Also, there were some scenes that, you know, could have been cut out. I mean, there were some deleted scenes on the DVD and the Blu-ray that they put back in. Some of them had nice effects, but, you know, I wish that, you know, there were some scenes I think that could have been cut out. You know, there was a lot of scenes in Tatooine. There's a lot of characters that make appearances that you don't see again, so it was kind of pointless to put them there the first time. Like that lady she has squinty eyes. And there's like some sellers, you know, selling things in Tatooine. You know, you see them and blink them and you miss them. I think another good thing, the visual effects. I think the CG looks really good. I know a lot of people had a problem with a lot of CG. Remember, people, this was 1999. This wasn't 2009 or 2014. It was 1999. A film like this had not been seen before, with all these grand visual effects that, you know, of battle droids and dewbacks and Jar Jar and the Gungans and the spaceships and everything. I think it looks fine. I don't think it looks as bad as some people say. There's like, oh, it's bullshit CGI. I think the CGI looks great. Compare that to something like Prometheus, that the visuals are good, but the story is, you know, is confusing and it was not needed. But anyway, other things I didn't like in the film, well, some characters were kind of underused, like Chancellor Valorum and Panaka. He was decent, but the problem is they never show him again. He's in the first film, right? But you don't see him in Episode 2 or Episode 3. He gets replaced by some New Zealand actor with an eye patch in his eye in Episode 2, which I thought he was kind of not memorable compared to Panaka. I thought Panaka was alright. Also, I like the score. I think it's fantastic. John Williams does a great job with the score. That grand music that they have in the lightsaber battle is fantastic, with the choir singing. It's epic. It makes the scene more, you know, it stands out more. Darth Maul was cool. With his double-edged lightsaber. I'd never seen a lightsaber like that. It was so cool to see that on the big screen. I think that even though it's over 2 hours, I was never bored. I was, my eyes were glued onto the screen the whole time. Just it was an eye candy. It was a feast for the eyes, and the story I don't think was half bad, people. So that's mostly what I think about episode one. I might say more about it later. There might be some things that I forgot to mention, but that's the way it goes. But I've always enjoyed this film, episode one, Star Wars. It's not perfect. I know it never will be, but I know for a fact that it entertained me. It entertained me when I was a teen. It entertained me. It still entertains me as an adult, and I will never hate it, no matter what anybody says. So the next review will be Attack of the Clones. I will definitely get back to you guys on that. I'll probably do it in a day or two. Want to just take a rest and collect my thoughts and try to piece together that movie as well, because I enjoy that one too. I know that gets a lot of hate as well. All these films do, including episode 3. But episode 1, wait, no, wrong side. Episode 1 right there, I don't hate that movie. There have been films that I've seen recently that have disappointed me more. And the hype, there was definitely a lot of hype when it came out. People were camping out. They were so anxious to see it. And then when they saw it, it was a mixed reaction. But I think it deserved the box office it got. It made over $400 million. It's one of like the top 30 box office giants of all time. And I don't hate the film. So take it for what you will. If you like the film just like me, great. If you don't like it, that's fine too. Just don't be an asshole and say, oh, you don't have any taste because you like the Phantom Menace and you think it's a masterpiece. I never said that. I just say I like the film. I never said it was one of my top 10 favorite movies. I will be getting to that when I get to the original trilogy. Those are in my top 10. But Jar Jar and I are going to say, so long, Lisa said so long. And I will get back to you guys with episode 2, and I will give you my thoughts on that. So, later, guys.